Hello and welcome. I'm Derick Dreher. I'm the director of the Rosenbach and also vice president of special collections for the Free Library of Philadelphia. The Free Library, like so many libraries, is celebrating Banned Books Week. One of the most notorious banned books is James Joyce's great novel, Ulysses. We're going to spend just a moment talking about its incredible publication history and the censorship that took place as part of that. James Joyce began writing his great novel in 1914 or 1915. He required about 7 years to finish. The first publication of any part of Ulysses came in a journal called The Little Review, which Margaret Anderson had founded in Greenwich Village in New York City in 1916. Between 1918 and 1920, she published about 15 of the 18 episodes in Ulysses. One of those caught the eye of censors. It was episode 13, known as the Nausicaa episode. In this episode, our hero, Leopold Bloom, is walking down the street when he observes Gertie McDowell sitting by the banks of the Liffey River and beginning to undress. Bloom can't help himself and masturbates. Although this scene is not described in a pornographic way, to say the least, in fact, it's a beautiful literary moment, it was viewed as pornography. The Little Review was asked to cease publication. Margaret Anderson, the editor, and her co-editor Jane Heap decided they weren't going to stand for this, and they decided to bring trial on their own. In 1921, lawyer and collector John Quinn represented them in court as they sought to prove that Ulysses was not a pornographic book. Unfortunately, they lost. Heap and Anderson were each required to pay a $50 fee for pornography. The Little Review shut down publication, and Ulysses was no more. We're looking here at the first page of episode 13, known as the Nausicaa episode of Ulysses, as it appeared in the Little Review in 1920. And as I close the cover of this fragile little serial, you see the beautiful Art Deco cover of this magazine. Fortunately for readers the world over, Ulysses was not stopped completely. Although it was banned in America and in England, there was no such ban in Paris. And James Joyce was able to work with publisher Sylvia Beach and her company Shakespeare & Co. to print Ulysses on February 2, 1922. This is a copy of the first edition of James Joyce's Ulysses that was smuggled into the United States. There's an inscription on the flyleaf written by its former owner, the poet Babette Deutsch, that explains to us the story. This book was smuggled out of Paris and mailed to us by a friend when it first appeared. Because of the censorship in this country, he sent it in sections, folded so as to go into an ordinary envelope, by regular mail. To preserve the complete book, we had it bound. Babette Deutsch and Avraham Yarmolinsky. Here we see the classic cover of the first edition of Ulysses with the Aegean Blue Sea paperback binding, the half title, and the title page indicating the first publication in Paris in 1922. Another way to bring Ulysses into America was to disguise it as something else altogether. And here we have a wonderful piece of ephemera. This is a false dust jacket that would suggest the book is Dragnets by Arthur West. And you could simply fold this dust jacket around your copy of Ulysses and theoretically carry it in under your arm and hope that the unsuspecting customs officials wouldn't notice. That's the way it remained throughout the 1920s. It was impossible to buy and sell or mail Ulysses legally in the United States or in England. In 1933, that changed. James Joyce, aided by many authors and lawyers and other supporters in America decided, with the help of Random House, the publishing agent that wanted to produce an American edition, that it was time to bring a lawsuit. They went to the United States Court of Appeals, and they brought a case before Judge John Woolsey in 1933. This is a copy of the appellant's brief. In other words, this is the argument that Random House and their lawyers brought. And you can see as you page through with me, point to the test of obscenity is a living standard, and Ulysses must be judged by the mores of the day. And as we continue, we see a variety of other arguments, such as point 4, Ulysses is not obscene according to the accepted definitions of obscenity, and so on and so forth. So it's a very long brief. It makes a very good case that Ulysses should not be considered pornographic. And fortunately for readers throughout America, towards the end of 1933, Judge John Woolsey agreed. This is a copy of the court's decision from 1933, which has been signed by Judge Woolsey himself. And he goes through to explain that he has accepted all of the arguments brought by Random House and Joyce and others, that Ulysses should be viewed as a great classic novel and not as pornography. That decision was affirmed by an appeals court in 1934. Random House published the first American edition the same year, and ever since then, fans across America have been able to read this once banned book, James Joyce's Ulysses. Thanks for joining me.